Hi everyone, my name's Stu Crow. I'm the currently Executive Chairman of Lake Resources. Lake Resources is a lithium developer moving very quickly towards production in Argentina. Whilst we're an Australian-based company currently, we have all our assets in Argentina. As our disclaimer, if you're having trouble sleeping at night, feel free to read that at your leisure. I will be making forward-looking statements because that's what exploration is all about. As I said, we're in the lithium triangle in Argentina. We have 4 projects. One down the bottom there, which is our Kachi Project, which is our most advanced project. We've been working on that now for 4 years since we discovered it. It's a maiden discovery. It had never been drilled before.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Okay, got a bit of competition. And then up to the north, Kachi. It's all right, I can talk louder. If I have to, I'll shout, but just bear with me. And then we have 3 projects in and around existing operations. One called Kachi, which goes alongside a company you'll be well familiar with, Lithium America. On the other side of that basin where Orocobre, now Alchem, operate, we have a project called Olaroz. And just to the north near the Chilean border, we've got a project called Paso. And we'll talk about those in a sec. Lake's in an interesting stage. Having just been a thought bubble with a group of guys sitting around in a surf club, we raised 700,000 Australian dollars 6 years ago. We sent Steve Prominence off into Argentina to do what he does well, which is generate projects. He came back with 4 projects in Argentina. He was the first guy in the mines department after the election of the Macri government, so we had first mover advantage, and we quickly secured what's turned into about 500,000 acres of lease holdings that we own 100%. We have just appointed, so we've come from being an exploration company, we've got through to a development stage, and in January this year I said to the board, this is great, we've done a great job, but none of us here have ever built a mine, so we need to get cracking and bring in a team that can execute this for us. And we started that process in March. And we've just recently, in the last 2 months, appointed David Dixon, who's joined us as a CEO, and he's rapidly brought on a new executive team, which he's continually building out, and they should all be well in place by the end of the year. We're also currently running our demonstration plant on site at Kachi, and we've got aggressive exploration underway on those other 3 projects I previously mentioned, and we continue to test our brines on a number of processes with a view to extracting the lithium from the brines in a sustainable and efficient manner. So it's interesting. I'll just move on to our project here at Kachi. That's a bit of a happy snap just to give you an idea of the scale and the terrain we're operating in. It's fairly arid, obviously, so water usage is one of our great concerns. We're using a method called ion exchange, which most of you in this room who have followed the uranium industry should be fairly familiar with. Nothing different to that process and similar to a desalination plant, except the beads that we use in the exchange columns are specific for lithium. So they're incredibly efficient. We're partnered with a group out of California called Lilac Solutions, who you may or may not have heard of, very well funded out of Silicon Valley, and they've had remarkable results. And we've been working with those guys since they were 3 brainiacs in a really awful shed down the back of Oakland, which is probably not one of the nicest parts of the world anyway, but where they were was particularly nasty, but to the point where I actually said to Steve, are you sure this is the place? I'm not sure we should be getting out of the car here. But they have since morphed into a very large company. They've got 120 people on staff now. They've just taken a lease on a 500,000 square foot facility in Reno, where they're going to create their bead manufacturing facility, and they've tested 60 brines from all around the world, and we've found their process to be extremely elegant and very efficient. So we've been trialling with them for 4.5 years. In fact, through COVID, we built a pilot plant in Oakland and shipped brines from Argentina to Oakland so we could keep the momentum going on this project. So instead of having miles and miles of evaporation ponds stretching to the horizon, you can see that little shed there marked A. That's the direct extraction plant, and that's where the magic happens. So we pump the brines up, we run it through the ion exchange columns, extract the lithium, and then put the brines back into the aquifer using re-injection. Just recently we've secured Offtake. We're looking to develop this project at Kachi to do 50,000 tonnes per annum. We've signed 2 offtake agreements with SK and WMC Energy. both fairly well-known names in the space. As well as the Offtake, they both agreed to invest a significant amount of money to take a 10% stake in the head company, Lake Resources, once we get to final investment decision. And the reason for that is obviously where our aim is to remain independent, and that will help secure the register, but it also gives us around 360 million Australian dollars, unfortunately not US, but we'll take it, and that will get us funded into production. So we haven't quite got our CapEx numbers yet. We're waiting on our DFS, which we expect to have early next year. But at this stage, we've got Lilac will contribute equity based on their equity stake in the Kachi Project, and these two guys will deliver us that 360 million Australian. So we're funded pretty well into production on current numbers, and we've got 70% of our CapEx is going to be funded through the export credit agencies. This is our demonstration plant. It's finally commissioned and now processing Kachi brines. We're just waiting on final confirmation that that process is now optimised and operating efficiently and 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we will start to ship samples of that concentrate to convert into lithium carbonate very, very soon. I'm expecting probably within the next week or so we'll be able to announce to the market that that's underway, and then we convert that concentrate into carbonate with Saltworks in the US. Pretty exciting time for us, because this sort of is proof of concept for us that this is scaled from pilot plant up into demonstration plant scale. And then obviously as we go to production, this is modular, so we just add more modules to the process. These are our metrics on the finances. This is done at our PFS level, which was only at 25,500 tonnes. We've subsequently moved that up to 50,000 tonnes per annum as our production target. The reason for that, when we first put this out, people said, oh wow, 25,000, do you think you should start at 10 and scale it up? Whereas now we say 50 and people are asking us, can we take it to 100? Which has been a fantastic shift in the way the market's perceived what we can deliver, but B, what's going on in the sector generally. It's incredible out there. When you consider only 3 years ago, the global production of lithium was 320,000 tonnes of LCE. Every single car and battery maker that I now talk to is looking to source between 250 and 600,000 tonnes per annum by 2026. You may say that sounds like mission impossible, but that's why the mining industry does what it does. It's very efficient and will always solve for the solution. So I've got great confidence. But you can see here the metrics here, the finances here are incredible. CapEx are at about 4,000. We did this modelling at 15,500 tonnes. So currently the market price is somewhere like 5 times that price. And if you ask anyone, they'll tell you it's going a lot higher. And if you ask me, I'll tell you it'll be double that by the end of June next year. And as I mentioned, we've got 70% of our CapEx funded through the export credit agencies of the UK and our friends at EDC. And that's not happening. Can we go back one? Yeah, thanks. And again, back, or it just doesn't like that slide. So that funding's remarkable. This is done at the OECD SIR rate, which currently sits just over 4%. And the best part about this, once we pull it down, the 75% of it will be fixed for the 8.5 years. So it's incredibly cheap money to bring on a project in Argentina. I've never seen anything quite like it, so we're very, very happy to have it. And the other added benefit, which we didn't realise at the time, is the influence that we get with the embassies that are attached, the UK embassy, the Canadian embassy, Australian embassy and the US embassy, particularly in Argentina, but globally. Whenever delegations from Argentina move around the world, they're always supported by those embassies, and we get a lot of third-party advocacy because of that. These are our other projects, Cauchari, Olaroz and Paso. They are going to be under rapid development towards production. We're quite fortunate in that what we've learned over the 6 years of bringing Kachi on, we feel very confident now that we can fund these projects if we can get them up to the resources up to where we want to take them into production, and then it's simply then a matter of working out which process and which technology we're going to use to liberate the lithium out of the brine. current market cap's just around 1.5 billion Australian dollars, trading around $1, $1.10, $1.15. We don't have any debt. We've got 160 million, roughly, dollars Australian in the bank. And as I said, with the offtake agreements, we've got something like 360 million coming. Those conditional framework agreements we have there with Offtake become binding as we move towards FID. And it's not anything tricky, it's things like DFS, permitting, environmental social impact, and the test work at Lilac. And then just quickly here, I'll just flip through our board. David Dixon, our new CEO, Dr. Nick Lindsay, who's been our technical director, he's just gone back to non-exec as we've replaced a number of people at the executive level. Robert Trebsky's a non-exec and very independent director, and Amalia Sands is a senior lawyer who is resident in Buenos Aires. And then, as I mentioned, we're adding to our team. We've got Scott Runmo, who's just joined. He's running the technology side of things and looking at strategy and risk. He's all over the Lilac agreements and things there. Peter Nielsen, our CFO, very, very capable. Gautam, who's the COO on site in Argentina. Sean Miller has come on. He's going to run the exploration effort across the other 3 projects in Kachi, Olaroz and Paso, so that we don't distract Gautam and his team. So Sean will build out another team, and we're going to do the exploration work across all 3 of those projects rather than do them one at a time, purely because the market's in a structural deficit and we want to get these projects to market as quickly as we possibly can. Then of course we've got Karen Green, who joined us on Monday to take care of all the investor relations work for us, and Daniel Bonifati, as we're working with Sean on the exploration effort. Lilac, as I mentioned, are our technology provider. They have a right to earn up to 25% equity in the Kachi project. The first 10% that they already hold, and that was due to the work they've done on the pilot plant and bench scale test work and the demonstration plant that's now underway. They have a right to earn an additional 10% once this test work's complete. They need to deliver 1,000 hours of operations of the demonstration plant and a 2.5 tonne sample that hits spec. That spec's around 99.95%. So we're pretty comfortable with that, and on the assumption that they get through to their equity earn-in, they will then contribute their share of the equity that's required to draw down their debt. Now Lilac are very, very well supported. They just raised 150 million a year ago. It was led by Chris Sarker from Lower Carbon Capital and T Rowe, but they've also got Breakthrough Energy with Bill Gates and his bunch of billionaires throwing money into them. And thankfully, right at the end of that raise, they were joined with BMW, Sumitomo and SK came in as well as investors in that last Series B. So a really impressive group of investors into Lilac, and gives them a very, very good access to capital as they expand. As I said, this process has a very, very low footprint. As you can see, that's what the Atacama looks like from up in the sky, and in comparison, that little black dot is the size of our operation. So incredible when you look at it like that, the lack of land that we use, the lack of water that we waste. It's an incredibly efficient process. Our freshwater usage is single digits, and we generate water through the process. When we flush the beads with hydrochloric acid, we create lithium chloride and water, and we capture that water and use it and reprocess it as part of our process. And we've got some other details there which will be available on our website if anyone's interested in the specs.